All right, welcome to the third review, fourth video, final thing to talk about this week in Lanternium. I'm assuming that's how that's pronounced, um, but it has less to do with some sort of mystical element, although that is presumably what is powering the lantern-based puzzle gameplay here. And this has a lot more to do with cookies. Like, the basic conceit here is you are Mr. Raccoon. Um, Mr. Fox over here has raided your kitchen, stolen all your cookies, and then used a interdimensional warp portal to pull off this cookie heist. Seems like a bit of an escalation. Um,
This is like one of the most 90s stories I've ever heard.
I can see that. I'm like, it's the story you'd expect out of a 3D platformer, and
Mm.
I will note they are considering this technically to be a platformer. No, this is not a platformer. This is a puzzle game. This isn't a puzzle platformer either, because you can't fucking jump. Um, that's kind of an important part of the platforming. You know? And if
You
you
can
don't,
have a platformer where you can't jump, but you have to have some other intentional means of navigating the platforms.
yeah, I guess it's a platformer in the more literal sense, in that the main mechanic here is manipulating platforms with your lantern. Like, that's still a very oblique definition to use.
Hmm.
Like, uh, and yeah, you can fall off the platforms if you don't have them properly generated. Petty will go through like the you know it starts off. These are just the tutorial levels, but here comes the major complication with the lantern-based gameplay. You know, it's not just you rotate through the colors and it'll generate the platforms. No, very soon they will introduce fireflies to the mix. That'll introduce the secondary color wheel. Um, if you have that firefly plugged in, it will change the colors, based off of, like, instead of like blue, yellow, and red, we got the green one here, and that'll generate the cyan, light blue, whatever color designation. Uh, and you have to have the Firefly in order to generate those platforms. But the real trick is the leaving mechanic. If you leave a Firefly on a platform, you will keep the platform in place. And yes, you will need to use that to get cookies and end the level. I guess the final major mechanic is the ice uh, blocks. Um, Try to guess what happens when you step on one of those.
Extra square.
Cracks.
Incorrect. You slip,
Ah.
and you will move automatically to the square that it's pointed at, because they're also sloped. And as an additional collectible, there are ancient key collectibles. There are ancient keys, and there are plans. Um, Not exactly sure what the keys do. I'll be honest. This is a perfectly fine puzzle game. It got boring
Ancient
pretty quickly.
keys between us and our stolen cookies.
Like, look, you're going through the ruins of a lost civilization here. yeah, there's kind of a mm, uh not sure what word to use that's not offensive. Like there's kind of an uneven plot semblance here. But anyway, as far as the game goes, it works perfectly fine. In fact, I'm in fact it's a bit cleverer than I thought it was going to be because once again, when I initially saw it, I thought this was going to be a Sokoban like. Um, but no, there is no pushing of blocks and worrying about corners here.
Hmm.
That being said, yeah, it didn't hold my interest for 60 levels either. I guess in terms of like actual flaws, the game is kind of ugly.
Yeah.
Like this is probably developed by a small team, Unity, etc., etc., etc. It still doesn't look particularly great, but since it's a puzzle game, you know, that's a very small consideration. Um, I guess the last thing to really mention is the time trial mode. Like when you complete a level, you are able to go back in, like I think hitting the arrow or the hourglass, some symbol, and then the timer will hit, and beat it under par time. Not exactly sure what happens. Um, if there's like a set amount and something happens there. Once again, I like only did that once.
Mm.
And yeah, that's about all there is to it. Like it, like it's perfectly fine. I just don't really have much to say about it. You know, Galix Petty, anything you wish to add?
For some reason it wasn't wanting to read my controller, so I had to play this with keyboard, and it's okay.
It looks like
Yeah,
a functional puzzle.
Hmm.
yeah. It's very grid based. It's very tile based. You're moving in the four cardinal directions only,
Hmm.
and that's actually part of the gameplay. Like you only move on squares. Like,
Right.
um, still, it's a perfectly cromulent puzzle game. Um, nothing more, nothing less. And in terms of pricing, the game clocks in at $8 regular, $2.99 for the soundtrack. Or no, sorry, uh, $1.99. Even then, I'm not sure if I could recommend the soundtrack. It's pretty there.
It's one of those you're not gonna find yourself wanting to listen to it outside of the game type soundtrack.
No, but it's also the soundtrack's so cheap. Why not pick it up? Especially since the bundle is cheaper than the base price.
Hmm.
Not a whole lot cheaper, but still $7.63 is less money than $7.99.
Yeah.
Like so, yeah. I mean, once again, this is a game that I like to call a good, solid hand. Nothing amazing, nothing spectacular. Um, Maybe a bit more flair than some puzzle games we've covered on the program,
Hmm.
but certainly less than others.
And definitely one of those. If this is your bag, rock on. Go have fun with it.
Hmm. It's just I don't think it's anyone here. Maybe Galix's cup of tea. Like,
Maybe depends on how it feels.
Hmm.
kind of stiff.
Yeah, it's real
Yeah,
stiff.
stiff puzzle games are sometimes kind of a pain.
Mm,
Yeah.
fair enough. Anyway, so yeah, that'll about do it for not just this review, but this review session. So coming up on the week ahead, as a reminder, MSP is now currently off production, so nothing until December
Well,
on
we're
that
on
program.
break. The show hasn't been canceled or anything. We're just on break until
Yeah,
December. You made it
yeah.
sound like
Uh,
MSP died again.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm like, anyway, on Wednesday, October 30th, we'll be welcoming our good friend John Pickett of Manga Gamer to the program. And good news, they finally have games to talk about. Ooh, that was getting rough there. Because honestly, it's been about, I want to say 9 months since we last had them on to actually talk about visual novels that they are releasing in a short amount of time. So it'll be good to get back to that talk. And we do have a Friday show. Um, we will be welcoming Chaos Monger of the Chaos Monger Studio. So look forward to that. And until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.